Our final road trip report for today comes from Leighton, Buzzard, where Bedfordshire Council and Fire Service have been talking to local drivers. Darren Lindsey went along to see what was happening.
Thank you, James. It's obviously day 4 of the road trip, and we're here in Leighton, Buzzard. And I wish I could honestly say to you that we've got spectacular weather here today. You can probably hear the rain in the background, but we've more than made up for that in terms of what we had here in terms of our attendance. We've had the British Horse Society down here today. We've had the fire, we've had the police, and obviously we've had Bedfordshire County Council as well. And really the focus today has been on the safer roads. So I'll get back to you later on just to give you a bit of an insight in terms of what we discovered and who we spoke to.
Bedfordshire is obviously a landlocked county, but we've got the M1 running down to London, so it's one of the busiest motorways in the UK. But we've also got some other A roads which are very well used, the A41, the A5 and the A6. And we know through our data and the incidents that we're responding to that road traffic collisions are the highest risk to our fire and rescue service and to obviously our communities and members of the public. So you've got a mix of large towns, a motorway, arterial roads going on, but also, as you see from some of these banners around here, you can go around a corner, there's lots of country lanes, it's very rural, lots of villages. So people sometimes don't adapt to moving from major roads to the slower villages. So, and obviously we can come across horse riders, there's a lot of that going on, tractors, farmers and cattle being moved as well. So people sometimes don't adapt or are not used to driving in some of the areas in Bedfordshire. But I think it's working with all our partners, including ProjectEDWARD, to really get that message out there about concentrating only on your driving, making sure you're rested before you leave, and not being under the influence of a lot of things. But I think the major thing that I see quite often is people using their mobile phones. There's a bit around frustration sometimes as well. You know, when we do get large incidents, you see some people caught in traffic and then they make some manoeuvres with their vehicles and you think, well, you're just going to cause another accident. So it's just about keeping your skills up as well, I guess, really, because once you pass your driving test, there is no requalification. But, you know, you do need those refreshers, as we know from our own drivers driving fire engines.
Yeah, I mean, the modern technology that's deployed in brand new cars is quite incredible. My own personal car, if you're on the motorway, which has been modified or upgraded to a smart motorway, if you're on cruise control, which is radar adaptive, it will actually pick up the signals coming from the overhead gantries, and actually, if it drops from the standard 70 miles an hour on the motorway down to 60, the car will actually automatically adjust down to that speed, which I think is, you know, incredible use of technology. And also, what it stops is that what we call the tsunami wave of backwards and forwards in the traffic of cars bunching up, this, that and the other. So if all cars were deployed like that, you'd get a nice flow of traffic through the smart motorway system.
Why are people taking more notice about having this third set of second pair of eyes inside of the other?
I always say that, you know, that a vehicle parked on a driveway or parked outside a business, a van, a truck, whatever it is absolutely no risk to anybody until you put the human person in it. Now, human are infallible people. You know what I mean? They make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, you know, and I'm not saying that a vehicle will not make a mistake. But what I'm saying is with that aid and that technology being deployed into modern vehicles, it's giving you that extra warning. So forward collision warnings. Imagine you were backing out of a car park in a supermarket. It will actually tell you that there's a vehicle crossing or a person crossing behind you and actually warn you to stop that sort of incident of the small bumps, the small knocks, you know, where injury can occur.
I was road policing inspector, spent a huge amount of my career doing road death investigation and doing with more serious road traffic incidents, which is why after I retired, I wasn't ready to stop making a contribution. So I'm the only part-time member of the staff on the team. I still passionately care about trying to drive that road death figure down. As near to zero as we can get. So not ready to give up work. I've been doing this for the last 6 years since I retired, trying to make a general contribution to make Bedfordshire's roads safer, which is where I work at the moment. When I first started on road policing, the average number of road deaths daily was 10. We've halved that in the 20 years or so since that time. Some of that is through vehicles becoming safer, the technology that's on board to keep people safe, airbags, seatbelt retentioners, all of those sort of things. But there still comes a point where when you lose control of a car, there's a certain amount of energy put into the collision where the outcome is still going to be bad. So driver aids and all the things we've got to keep us on the road are ever improving and improving the odds of being hurt in a serious collision. But we still need to work on, the decision-making interface as in educating drivers to make sensible decisions. Be good at dynamic risk assessment and basically assessing the conditions. Like on the drive here, it was torrential rain, thunderstorm. You can spot drivers who are thinking about what they're doing because they reduce the speed because they're aware of risk of aquaplaning. Vehicle lights come on and they drive appropriately to the conditions. But other people just rely, basically think, get lulled into a false sense of security and will barrel on when, if you were thinking about how you drive, you might think, actually, I'm going to take some speed off here because it's not safe to be driving at that speed. Just because there's a speed limit, it's not the speed it's always safe to drive at. Fog is an obvious one where people slow down. It may say that you can do 60, but you can't see far enough ahead to make that determination. People slow down, but you need to think about other aspects of driving, like rain after a long drive period. There's oil on the roads, and every road policing officer in the country is the first day it rains after a long drive period. They're all busy because there will be accidents because people continue to drive without really thinking about how they're driving.
So Mark Simantz, Webfleet, Bridgestone company, and I manage our southern independent resellers, so distributing telematics devices across the southern part of the UK.
Morning, Mark. It's our 4th day of the road trip here with Project Edward, and we very much support the safe system. And one of the pillars of the safe system is, of course, safer roads. Now, we know that you are big in this game when it comes to the telematics and the installations and that, and we're sitting in a vehicle here today with one of your systems installed, which is doing exactly what I've just said there. It's looking at the roads ahead, but not just that, it's looking at the person that's driving on the road, which will be myself or you. Can you just tell us a bit more about this equipment and the trends that are going on out there, and more importantly as well, how it's interacting with the infrastructure to make our roads safer today?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're referring to the Cam 50 that we have installed in the vehicle there, and it has both a driver-facing camera and an outward road-facing camera with an active screen which provides in-cab alerts to the driver if we determine that they are distracted for any reason, so be it looking at their mobile phone, eating, drinking, smoking, etc. And we find that by giving that real-time alert to the driver, they're auto-correcting their behaviour. Not only are we looking at internally within the cab, we're also looking at externally around tailgating as well. So if we're noticing that the drivers are becoming too close to a vehicle in front, again, they get a similar sort of alert. So we're finding that rather than moving away from penalising drivers, it's actually allowing themselves to self-correct their behaviour. It's actually reducing the number of accidents and involvement in dangerous driving through that sort of behaviour. Now, it does also feed into the fleet manager's office, so they have visibility of that. But 9 times out of 10, the drivers correct themselves, and it doesn't become a problem that needs to be sort of investigated further.
So one of the things about the infrastructure thing, and we've experienced it this week, is this range anxiety, but more people are moving across to actually say about giving you range confidence there. Well, why do I bring this point up? I think it's important because we want safer users on the road, which will obviously lead to safer roads as a consequence of that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's happening there to sort of occupy that space so it does become safer in terms of the technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're approaching it from 2 directions. So the first is around providing what we call a fleet electrification report. So it essentially provides insight to a fleet manager on their existing ICE vehicles as to which of those would be suitable to be moved over based on their sort of average daily driving distance. So as soon as the drivers get into the electric vehicle, they're starting from a position of confidence rather than anxiety, because they know that the insight has been there. It's been an intelligent investigation made, and a decision has been made based upon that. Maybe only 20% of the vehicles have been moved over because the rest of the vehicles is not appropriate. And then on the other side, we're looking at the infrastructure. We've plotted the infrastructure on our platform, but in addition to that, we're providing real-time information to both the drivers and to the fleet managers on the type of charger, the plug type that's required, whether it's available, whether it's in use. So again, we're moving the drivers towards a position of confidence where they're actually able to think about the driving as opposed to whether they're going to get there before they run out of juice.
So we've had an interesting few hours here in Leighton Buzzard, and once again we've taken just a moment to reflect on the day's activities. And a number of things I'd obviously like to share with you today. We obviously had a visit from the Assistant Chief Fire Officer from Bedfordshire. And I think some of the really important things that was shared there is the geography when it comes to safer roads here. We have many of the main arteries coming into this area and a mixed variation of roads to contend with. So just a very good point there to consider. The subject as well about technology came up. In particular telematics, the role that we're seeing there. As you know, we're in an electric vehicle this week, and a number of things were pinging on the car. Did we know what it meant? Yeah, thankfully we did. But one of the things in particular about the telematics is moving the conversation away from this range anxiety to actually bringing in the range confidence. And we've said this today because it makes you a better driver, makes you more relaxed, and therefore leading to be safer on the roads. So that was a good point that's been picked up today as well. And we're also very fortunate to have an ex-roads police inspector here who had a tremendous amount of knowledge to share with us, in particular on the theme of about changing minds and changing behaviour. So that's all we've got time for today. Hoping to get back to you tomorrow, whereby we'll be in.
Well, that's the end of the programme and our fourth day of the 2022 Week of Action. Thank you to everyone who helped with today's events. Thanks to our partners. Thanks, of course, to you for watching. Tomorrow will be the final day of this year's road trip and the teams will be visiting Durham, Warwick and Gloucester. I hope you can join us then for our last programme of the 2022 Week of Action. But for now, from every member of the Project Edward Week of Action team, it's goodbye.